He pretends the songs aren't good to try to be trendy.
That song is actual dog.
I mean, is Cooper Rush worth 2.5 points? I would hope Quinn Ewers put up a decent stat line against Arizona State. If he didn't, we have a real problem.
You can say the same thing about Creighton. Okay, they had the one good game against Kansas at home.
When Toast talks about the kicking market, it's like some earth is flat shit. Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think it's going to be very ugly. Dog walking. I think this is going to be ugly.
Hey, get this to us. Hey, what's up? Happy Thursday. Hope you're all enjoying your afternoon. Hope all you all had a nice Wednesday night. I did. I went 3-1 last night. You love to see it. No, I didn't bet the NBA game, and I should have because I said I liked the under in that game, which would have cashed by about 30 points, but I didn't bet it, unfortunately. Maybe gives me a little bit of confidence heading into this one. I have 3 NBA bets open. Obviously, the NBA is fully back. I don't know if I necessarily even like my bets. I think I'm on the right side. We'll see. I mean, it's tough. We need to get back into the swing of things. I mean, we've seen a lot in the last few years where teams come out and are playing completely different basketball after the All-Star break. We saw the Dallas Mavericks have the worst defense in the NBA and then come out after the All-Star break and have an elite defense. That was the year before last, the year they went to the Western Conference Finals. So we've seen teams just completely change their style up. You'll see a lot of veteran teams start playing defense. This is when they start playing defense now. So little tough to place bets at this point in the NBA. Let's see what we got. But like I said, I do have 3 bets open. We got Ski and Chris here, as you can see. 9 games. Let's get it started. First up, Boston, Philadelphia. I do have a bet. I'm on the over. So I bet the over at 224.5. It then dropped to 223.5, and now it's back up at 225.5. So it looks like I am holding a point of value here. It's not that I'm expecting to see a fast-paced basketball game. Joel Embiid is going to play, which I would say probably hurts my over because he slows the pace down. So I don't like that per se. We should see a slow-paced game, which definitely sucks if you're holding an over ticket. That being said, I don't know how many stops we're going to see here. Philadelphia has been a bad defensive team, especially against the three-point shot all year. And they've been a terrible, and I mean terrible, defensive team when Joel Embiid is on the floor. Now, it's not the hugest sample size, and I'm not saying Embiid's trash. Don't want to go in an Embiid bash session here, but the defensive numbers for Philadelphia when Embiid plays are bad. So this is a defense that struggles against a three-point shot. Boston loves to shoot the three-point shot. And it's a defense that struggles pretty much across the board when Embiid's playing. They also can't rebound when Embiid's on the floor. So Boston should have no problem scoring points. And Philadelphia, they're offensively, they've been pretty good. I mean, last month or so, they've been scoring points. So I think this gets up and over the total, even though I do admit I'm a little worried about the pace. So I'm on the over here, 224.5. Ski, agree, disagree? What are your thoughts?
I agree. I'm also on over. I'll say, I don't have to repeat everything you said, but one thing, the last 2 meetings have gone over the number we're looking at today. And the last one, just looking at the pace number, 94 for pace. I mean, that's lower than both of these teams have been playing all season, and they still got 228. So I think it's just, maybe when these teams play each other, they just match up good offensively. Whatever the case may be, I think we get up and over today.
Yeah, I saw exactly what you said. I saw that before. Both these matchups between these 2 teams have gone over the total, and they were running a slow pace, still went over the total. So, Chris?
Yeah, I agree too. Over. I also like just if you want to isolate Boston, I think Boston's going to be able to score looking at Philly's defense with Embiid on the floor, without Embiid on the floor. I don't think that part's going to matter at all. I think they were 21st defensively last 5 games going into the All-Star break against the 8th weakest schedule. So Boston should have no problem, I think, scoring. So either a Boston team total up and over or the full game up and over. I also think Boston can win this game by margin too. They kind of played around with their food the last time that they played. They got down 26 points in the third quarter and finished the game on a 56-20 run. It still won the game by 8 points. So I think Boston is the right side. I think over is the right side as well.
I mean, I get why you would think that, and I can't say I disagree. Philly seems to play these guys tough. They're 2-0 against the spread against Boston this year. Remember, they had the playoff series that was a couple years back. Philly doesn't look at Boston as the superior team, like in Philadelphia. I don't know. I think they'll play them tough, but I agree with what you said. Let's move on over to the next one. Memphis, Indiana. Prop Beaver's on the screen, which means he's got something for us. This one, I didn't bet it, and the reason I didn't bet it is I don't think I have much like. I think my reasoning for liking this bet is kind of shaky. So the bet I like is Memphis team total under. It's crazy high here. It's like 126.5, 127, something like that. Actually, probably 126.5 if my math is correct. So it should be 126.5. And I know even glancing at anything that says under in this game sounds crazy. I mean, it's Pacers versus Grizzlies. We should see a crazy fast-paced game. We should see a ton of transition. So how could I even think about betting the under? Well, I didn't bet it, so let me preface it by saying that. I think the Pacers defense might be a little bit undervalued based on the fact that they played a handful of games without Miles Turner there right before the All-Star break. And their defense fell off a cliff without this guy. They couldn't play defense and they couldn't rebound without Miles Turner. Now, you throw Miles Turner out there, does that make Indiana a great defensive team? No, of course not. They're still a mediocre defense at best, maybe even slightly below that. But this is a team that's pretty decent at keeping their opponents from getting out in the fast break. They limit opportunities. I think they're 6th in the NBA in frequency. So I just think it's a little bit of a buy low spot on the Pacers defense. And 126.5 is a crazy high number. So that's where I'd go. I didn't bet it because considering anything under in this matchup, it sounds like a suicide mission. But if I was to place a bet, that's where I would go. Chris, Ski?
I'll say if I was going to play this game, I would prefer to pick a side, and I just think that the Grizzly side would be my preference. I think they've been playing better so far this year, and when I think about Indiana, like they're not a team that's very great at protecting the paint, and that's where the Grizzlies really want to live at. So I will be leaning towards the Grizzlies in this game.
Chris?
Yeah, I'm with Ski as far the total. Like I think you said it, Cal. It's scary high. Like 250 is crazy high. But I do agree with Ski as far as the side. When I look at the Grizzlies in non-conference road games, there's something like 7-2 straight up and against the number. For whatever reason, they play non-conference games on the road. Like they just win all of them, most of them. I think the last time they lost was against the Knicks. And before that, they lost to the Brooklyn Nets like at the beginning of the season. But every other time, they've cleaned these teams up. And they average like 127 in those games. I do say the reason why I didn't bet it, Cal, is because they can struggle with protecting the basketball. Like if the Grizzlies have a downfall, that's it. And the Pacers, even though their defense has fallen off recently, they've been actually a team that's been like forcing some turnovers, interestingly enough. Also with the Grizzlies, they are the last thing I'll mention, they own the Pacers. They've covered 6 straight spreads. They beat them earlier this season, 136 to 121 in Memphis as well. But first day back, I don't want to play too many spreads, but that's the way I would lean. I hate that I would get the worst of the number now. Would it be in at 2.5? But yeah, Memphis would be my preferred side here. I
disagree. I lean towards the Pacers side. I think the line's a little bit off based on recency bias. Remember, the Pacers went like 14-2 in a 16 game stretch. Then Miles Turner got hurt. And yeah, they looked shitty down the stretch. So I understand if you take the last handful of games before the All-Star break, I get why you would want to pick Memphis. But I think if we take a step back and look, like, do we think, okay, so on a neutral court, Memphis would be laying 4.5, 5. They'd be laying 7.5, 8 in Memphis. I don't know. I think that's off. I think this should be closer to a pick. So I would actually lean towards the Indiana side.
They were laying 6 at home in that game earlier this season, Kyle. And yeah, I guess you make a pretty strong point. I just think that like looking at the spreads in general, though, like Memphis is just, like I said, they've covered 6 straight against Indiana. For whatever reason, they got the Pacers number. So Miles Turner coming back, he's missed like what, 4 or 5 straight games, Kyle, I think it was. He could like need some time to kind of recalibrate himself. And the Grizz, this was the other thing. The Pacers don't cover as home dog. They're 2-4 straight up, 2-4 against the spread, 6-0 to the over. When they're a home dog, their defense gets worse, their offense gets better, and they score a bunch of points but give up more. So Yeah, I understand the pushback. I didn't play it though.
Before Prop Beaver goes, Eduardo Nunez in the comments asked how the golf wagers are doing. Got her up shot of 70, opening round 70. So we'll take that. That's a big plus number there if he gets into the top 20. And Aaron Rye, who's my other bet, is 2 under after eight holes. So Aaron Rye off to a great start. Prop
Okay.
Beaver?
Yeah, just want to shout out Driver MDE. He said he's a truck driver and he pulls over at 4 p.m. every day just to watch the show. So
You could
thank
just
you.
put it on the speakers. You don't got to pull over.
Well, he could do that. Maybe he just wants to watch. Thank you for practicing good road habits. Love to see it. Okay, so I like Siakam over 10.5 rebounds and assists here. I agree with you. I think that the return of Turner could make an impact here. Obviously for Siakam, because the assisted the improvement of the defense is going to help those rebound opportunities for Siakam. We see that he's now under his last 5 or 6 games. He's only averaging 9 rebounds and assists per game. He only had 2 at Memphis in the previous matchup earlier this season. 2 rebounds. He had 6 assists. But the majority of those games where he's missed lately, they were without Miles Turner, and the two have a symbiotic relationship. He performs much better on the glass when the big man's active. At home with Turner specifically, he's been a cash cow. He's cashed his last 11 to 15 opportunities, and we know that Memphis, like Indy, loves to push the pace. If you look against teams in the top 15 of pace with Miles Turner, he's over his last 7 to 8 matchups. He's averaging 12 rebounds and assists per game. And the power forward position has had a ton of success, racking up both the rebounds and the assists lately against Memphis. You look at the last 30 days, they've allowed the 7th most rebounds, 7th most assists to the position. They've allowed the last 6 to 7 power forwards to face them, to clear their individual line, and 5 of them hit 11 plus in the process as well, clearing our line. And before this previous matchup against Memphis this season, we had seen Siakam had a ton of success against Memphis. He cashed the previous 4 or 5 showdowns, including all 3 of them away from Memphis. So if you get the 10.5 at -115 like you can on FanDuel, I would play it there. If you have to pay -130 or more, I would just take the assist line. But I like a bounce back for Siakam on the glass today. I saw somebody in the comments say they like Siakam for 2 rebounds in the first quarter. I'm not much of a first quarter guy. I know some of our guests on our show are, but sure, I co-sign that as well.
Siakam first quarter rebounds is crazy. Crazy market. Let's go to the next one. Cleveland, Brooklyn. I bet this one. I laid the big number. I got Cleveland at 12.5 last night. I know. You look at the Nets' last 10 games, they're first in defensive rating. I get it. They're playing elite defense. I have to ask, against who? If you really break down the Nets game logs and you say, okay, they're playing great defense recently. If you actually sit there and look, they played 7 great defensive games in a row. Well, 6 of their last 7. Before that, they were not playing good defense. So in the last 7 games, the Nets have been playing good defense. That was against the Hornets with no LaMelo, no Brandon Miller, no Mark Williams. The Hornets with, again, missing all the same pieces. The Rockets with no Şengün, and the Rockets have been ass. The Rockets with no Van Vliet or Tari Eason. They played the Wizards, who were at full strength, and they lost. The Wizards beat the Nets in that game. Then they played the Sixers with no Maxey, no Embiid. So, okay, the Nets have been playing some good defense recently. They've played the bottom feeders. They've played bad offenses. They played offenses missing key scorers. So I'm willing to call bullshit on this recent Nets defense. This is Cleveland. Probably the best offense in the NBA, or certainly based on what we have so far this year. They're one of the best. I don't think Cleveland's going to have problems scoring points here on Brooklyn. And on the other side, Cleveland defensively finally starting to come together. Brooklyn can't score points. So I think Cleveland wins this comfortably. They're rested. Yeah, I laid the 12.5. I think I'm on the right side here. Gentlemen?
I'm not mad at that at all. I think that's the right side too. Cavaliers can really, name their number in this game. They do play the Knicks tomorrow. Maybe they'll care about that one. Maybe for that reason they won't play as much defense, but even still, I think they'll score enough points. Look at the last time they played, I think it was like 130 to 101, something like that. I think that's the same kind of game we can get here. So I bet the over. Like I said, I think Cleveland can name their number. And looking at their last 6 games they played, even if they do play defense, they held 3 of those teams under 110. In those games, they scored 131, 128, and 144. So I think over. I got 223. It is at 220. Best number you can get is 225. I still think we see 230 in the game.
Yeah, I agree because I was considering Cleveland team total over as well. Chris?
That's what I like. Cleveland team total over. You can get you can get minus 120 at a 118 and a half for them. I think they get to 125. Ski just mentioned, I know Brooklyn's been playing slow, but you mentioned it, Kyle. The one thing you failed to mention, though, Kyle, is when you look at Cleveland. No, when you look at Brooklyn, you mentioned how weak of a schedule they have been playing. I think it was the second easiest schedule over the last 5 games. But they also caught so many teams like in a really great spot because their last 5 games was at home. But they caught the Sixers on the second leg of a back-to-back with no Maxey. They caught the Hornets on the second leg of a back-to-back. Like, it was just positioned for them to do really, really well. The only time they were at a rest disadvantage was against the Wizards, and they lost by 21. So, yeah, Cleveland. The reason why I didn't bet the spread, which you can still get a 12.5, the reason why I didn't bet the spread is because of what Ski said about the Knicks tomorrow, and they got to travel for that game. But I think for that reason, they probably just try to get this one out the way early. So I guess I'm thinking of a first half, spread maybe as well. But I like team total up and over just to kind of stay away from the spread, especially with them being such a high-powered offense over the last few games. I wrote in my notes that, the last 3 games, they've had 128 or more, and 7-3 to the over last 10, 3 straight overs. So, yeah, I like their team total. I think they get the 120 here.
Looks like Prop Beaver's got a prop for this one.
Yeah, I got a bit of a weird one. Taking Zaire Williams under 9.5 points here. We're getting a bit of an inflated number just because he's getting a boost in minutes due to the shifts in the Nets lineup. Over his last 7 games, he's seeing about 28.5 minutes per game, about a 4-minute increase on his season average. But if you look at games where both Cam Johnson and D'Lo are on the floor, he's 5-2 to the under. He's averaging just 24 minutes per game, 7 field goal attempts. He's got 8 or less field goal attempts in each. And in the 2 incidents where the Nets lost by 10 plus, he averages 21 minutes per game. I think that's going to be the same incident here. I really liked Kyle's cap on this game. I think the Cavs are going to beat the shit out of the Nets here. And with 8 or less field goal attempts, this is a guy under his last 23 or 30 contests going back to last season. The 2 main shot zones for Williams, he's a guy who loves to shoot at the rim and from above the break 3. These are the 2 main strengths of this Cavs defense, and that's where 76% of his shots come from, so I really see him struggling there. And if we look at how the Cleveland defense has defended small forwards, I mean, they've just been lights out. Last 17 of 22 small forwards to face Cleveland have now gone under their points line here, so to get this at 9.5, minus 110, I think is some great value. No reason to really overthink this. I think the books are just sleeping here on a guy who I guess doesn't have that big of name brand value, so 9.5 under.
To people in the comments complaining about the NBA, if that happens every year, the next couple months is when it is the most fun time of the regular season. February, March into April. So should get good. Next up. Yeah, the questionable thing, I mean, it's tough. I'm assuming they're going to fix that. But this is usually when you see the best basketball this time of year, right out of the All-Star break. Orlando at Atlanta, and honestly, I might be a sucker. I don't really understand how the Hawks are dogs here. I bet them money line at plus money. They're still sitting as underdogs. The Hawks are 9-1 against the spread in the last 10 games, so at least that gives me a little bit of confidence knowing that the market's been undervaluing them consistently. If you've been betting the Hawks, you've been making money. They continue to cover. So I personally would have this like Hawks -3. So like I'm not even close to where the market has this one. I would imagine this is going to be a pretty public bet. I'm a little worried about it, but I'm on the Hawks here, money line.
Yeah, I agree. I lean towards the Hawks as well. Not having Jalen Suggs, like I think he's got to be the missing part for Orlando because everybody's been healthy for a little bit now, and they still haven't really figured it out. So. Not having him to defend Trey, like I always say, where there's Trey, there's a way. I'll lean with the Hawks in this game.
When there's Trey, there's a way. Chris,
I bet Onyeka Okongwu in this game under his points plus rebounds. Number was 24.5. I think it is now down to 22.5 on most books, but I think you can get 23.5.
You can still get them at 365.
Yeah, okay. Appreciate probably. So the Orlando Magic, we cashed on Trey to go under his points and assists on this one. I think it was 10 days ago when they played on the 10th. And Onyeka was one of my leans that I probably should have got to the window with as well. But it's pretty much because the Orlando Magic don't give up a lot of points in the paint. They are number 1 in points allowed in the restricted area, and he scores a bunch of his points as the pick and roll man in the paint. So I don't think he's going to be able to score. The Orlando Magic are also the second best rebounding team in the NBA. And even though they don't, because I really wanted to bet Orlando, but with no Jalen Suggs, no bet for me. So I do think that we start to see, like, it's going to be a couple teams, I think, towards the end of this, like after the All-Star break, that's going to kind of pick it up. And I do expect Orlando to finish a little bit better. I think they're 2 games under 500 right now. So I think that they're going to, eventually get their act together. But I do think Jalen Suggs is going to be needed for that. But I do think that, you'll see a lot of effort, energy, and intensity here for Onyeka to continue to go under. He played against them in that recent game. He finished with 16 points plus rebounds. He only finished with he finished 3 of 7 from the field, had 7 rebounds on 7 rebound chances. So I'm expecting both of those numbers to drop a little bit. No Larry Nance in there does kind of scare me a little bit because it is probably extended minutes for him. But when I was looking into it, I put it on a screenshot real quick. When I was looking into it, Onyeka he's only gone over in 1 of his 13 games this season when he's playing against a top 10 team in restricted area points allowed, and also a team that's bottom 10 in pace. We know that Magic played the second slowest pace. So averaging 16.7 points plus rebounds in those games. So I feel like I got a little edge there with Onyeka Okongwu under, and also lean Trae Young. I still will go back to that as well. I know he just went off in the Garden, but that's Trae in the Garden. I think Trae has a good game. I'm not sure if he gets to 37.5 points and assists. I think he could. They like the guys that they traded for, the Karis LeVerts of the world. Those guys have come in and kind of helped. Gorgeous Niang. Those guys have helped out offensively as far as being able to score the basketball. So still lean towards Trae to go under as well. But I did bet Onyeka Okongwu under 24.5 points plus rebounds.
Someone in the comments says, "Who's guarding Banchero and Franz?" Bro, if you watched the Magic recently, they're the worst offense in the NBA.
They guard themselves.
I was gonna say,
man. They're terrible.
The ghost of Christmas past that got them in claims.
Let's move on to the next game. Like Kansas State could probably guard those guys right now. Chicago on the road in Madison Square Garden. I don't have a bet on the game. I don't see how the Bulls are able to make stops here. Whether OG Anunoby plays or not, the Knicks are scoring. They attack the basket a lot, and Chicago can't keep their opponents away from the rim. So we've seen the Knicks defense fall off a cliff without OG Anunoby. He's listed as questionable. He was a full participant in practice yesterday or the other day. So Anunoby's returning soon, whether it's tonight or the next game. He's going to be back very soon. He makes a difference. The Knicks can play defense with him, but offensively, they're like the same with or without him. They could score. The Bulls' defense is terrible. So the Knicks are scoring points in this game. It's just a matter of if Anunoby doesn't play, I would lean over. If Anunoby plays, I'm not opposed to laying the 12 with the Knicks, but I don't know. So you could just put over up for me, but I don't have a bet in the game. Ski?
I like the Knicks. I don't love that Josh Hart is not in for this game, and I would love if OG could be there. But regardless, for one, I think you just start with Chicago. Like they've already shown us what's the deal with them. Like they traded Levine, they were trying to trade Vooch. They're not trying to win. Their last 4 games, they lost by like close to 20 plus in each of them. Chicago's on the hell no list. I think we face Chicago until they give us a reason not to, or until the numbers get too big. And New York, as a home favorite of 11 or more, they've covered all 6 games this season. I think they'll cover another one tonight.
Yeah, the only thing the Bulls were doing well is shooting threes and shooting those transition threes, and even that has fallen off a cliff. They're not even hitting their threes anymore. So the Bulls do look like pretty ass all around. Chris?
If there was a team that they would get hot against, Kyle, it'd be the Knicks if I bet them. So I'm gonna just let Ski play ride with that. Kyle, the Knicks, the worst 3-point defense in the NBA, 30th. They allow teams to shoot 39%.
Efficiency, but they put a ton of pressure. They don't allow a lot of attempt. Nah, you're not gonna come at Tibbs like that on here.
Hey, that's their profile.
Take the Bulls. You should take the Bulls. Put the Bulls up for Chris.
I'm not taking the Bulls. Please don't do that probably ever in life. I'm making the opposite case here. I think so the Bulls, they've beaten the Knicks twice. Both of those were like negative rest advantage spots. Both they caught the Knicks on the second leg of back-to-back games, both times with them having to travel. I don't want to lay this big of a number. I'm not betting the game first and foremost, but I don't want to lay this big of a number.
Sounds like you like the Bulls, though.
No, what I don't like is the Knicks defense from the 3-point line. The numbers back it up. I know you see
Bulls are free then, probably, right? Bulls are probably free.
Probably not, because they suck. But look, this is the thing about the Bulls. They've only covered 3 of their last 10 games. 2 of those covers have been when I bet against them. So maybe I just don't know how to bet the Bulls right. They smoked Denver, right? Beat Denver by 8 as a 9.5-point dog. Then I bet them against Toronto 4.5, and they won the game by 16. So yeah, I'm not betting the Bulls. Bulls free dive for me, but I don't want the Knicks without OG in there either, because I do think it's a big number, and they got the Cavs tomorrow.
Prop Beaver?
All right, folks, we're betting on the Big Sneeze, Precious Achua.
Wait, hold on. His nickname is the Big Sneeze?
I don't know. The guy, I've mentioned him on here before. The guy, the fantasy podcast I listen to, Josh Lloyd, he's called him the Big Sneeze before. I love it. I think it's a fantastic nickname. Because Precious, she was a big girl, and then Achua, sneeze, obviously. Achu. So, yeah, Achua, he's seen his minutes increase now. He's hit 29 plus his last 4 or 6 games, averaging 35 minutes per game, and we're seeing everything increase. The attempts per game, the rebound chances, they've correspondingly increased. And with just 7 plus field goal attempts and 13 plus chances, he's 5-1 this season. He's averaging 27, and he's over 60% of his last 30 games. Now, we have OG possibly returning tonight. But with Hart out, I expect the volume to remain pretty much the same here, the increased volume, and I expect to see a further increase in rebound chances and potential assists against one of the fastest-paced teams in the league. On top of that, the Bulls don't really have the size on the floor to guard him. I mean, there's no Pat Williams, and the Bulls are starting 4 guards. So I think that there's a ton of value here on the Big Sneeze to just go off. I mean, the Bulls specifically, horrendous defense at defending the rim. They funnel shots to that area at one of the highest rates in the league. Versus bottom 15 rim defenses, we've seen Achua smash the line in 4 straight games, averaging 30 PRAs. We just need the guy to get 22 tonight on DraftKings, 23 on every other book. I think that there's a ton of value on this one. So while Achua may be the last option in this offense amongst the starters, I think that he's in for a good amount of usage tonight. There's going to be a ton of possessions in this ball game. So I like Achua to go over his total at 21.5, 22.5 as well.
The big sneeze.
Chew.
Chew. Chew.
And I really start sneezing right there. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I got you.
Big sneeze. Started thinking about sneezing. Next up, Clips Bucks. I don't really know how you can place a bet on this one right now. In case you guys haven't glanced at the injury report, you got Norman Powell listed as questionable. You got Eubanks listed as questionable. Amir Coffey listed as questionable. On the Milwaukee side, Lillard, Giannis, who else? There's someone else on here. Andre Jackson. So, I mean, both sides. Oh, Bobby Portis is suspended. Did you guys see? Yo, I was laughing so hard this morning. So, Bobby Portis, his trainers claiming he accidentally gave him the illegal stuff. You saw that? Bobby Portis is suspended for like PEDs. The trainer said that he accidentally gave Bobby Portis the illegal treatment instead of the legal.
Simple mix-up.
Like, yeah, I meant to give Bobby Portis some Advil, and I accidentally gave him black tar heroin. My ball. That's my bad. So Bobby Portis is suspended too. I guess Clippers are passed, but I don't really. Maybe Clippers team total over somewhere in there. But I don't have much interest in the game with the injury reports. Chris?
Yeah, I don't know if Norman Powell questionable. I don't know who's going to play for Milwaukee, and I just have a lot of question marks for them. I like the Clippers more at home, but I always do think James Harden gets up when he sees Giannis on the other side, so I'll lean with the Clippers.
He gets up when he sees Giannis on the other side?
Yeah, I bet on them last time. I know they covered. It was like 6.5, but in general, it was like a while ago where they're, he was kind of criticizing Giannis, saying it don't take no skill to be 7 feet and go run and dunk, and then I don't know, some back and forth.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That was a long time ago. Wow, good memory. Chris, what are your thoughts?
Mine are very similar to yours, Cal. If I don't know who's playing, I don't really want to play the game. I do think the Clippers are the right side, but this was like 2, right? I think it was 2, like +2, and now it's all the way to -3 in their favor. So if you wanted to get the Clippers, you probably should have got on it already. I did not. I'll happily sit on the sideline in this one. I don't really like the Clippers, like Ski said, too much on the road. I feel like they're a better home team, but given the current situation, especially Bobby Portis, who actually plays really, really well against the Clippers, I think that's a big question mark, a big void they got to fill. And you got Andre Jackson on the injury report because he lost the All-Star game and messed his wrist up. So yeah, it's kind of hard to like the Bucks in this spot, but I don't want to lay it with the Clippers either.
Apollo flexing his CLV trophy, saying he got the Clippers +1, the real CLV king. Bro, you can't flex CLV. I mean, we all know you're a diehard Clippers fan and you blindly bet them 82 straight times. You can't flex the CLV trophy when you do that same thing every game. All right, let's move on to the next one. For those that know, Apollo, diehard Clippers fan. If you didn't think they had any, there's one right there in the comments. Diehard Clippers fan.
How old is he, man?
I would guess mid-20s.
Probably 17.
I don't know.
Playing from his mom's account. It's like, nah, I'm just kidding. But I will say this, Kyle. If you blindly bet the Clippers every single time, you're a lot more profitable than the Miami Heat with like.
Nah, we haven't. That's too soon.
31, 21, and 1, Kyle. It's 59%. That's pretty good. Just betting the Clippers every single time.
Conveniently, Estot hasn't been around the last couple weeks. He's going to show up when they start winning and act like the last month didn't happen. It's exactly what he's going to do.
Next year. That might be next year, Kyle.
He's going to show up in 2029. Charlotte, Denver. So this is probably the game. I don't have a bet on this one, but this is probably would be my fourth NBA bet if I was to place a fourth. I think this gets up and over the total. Now, look, I maybe Denver slows the pace up after the All-Star break and they start playing like last year's Nuggets. But based on what we've seen this year, Denver is a fast-paced offense that likes to get out in transition. We know the Hornets run a much faster pace when LaMelo.
There's no LaMelo Ball. There's no Mark Williams.
When did that get updated?
Yeah, that
an hour ago.
Yeah. I was gonna say there's no way you would do that if there was no LaMelo Ball.
Pass.
Yeah, I was like, damn, okay, you still like it.
Yeah, he gonna talk me into something too. I was thinking the same thing, Ski.
Well, I'm glad I didn't bet it because I actually was considering betting that.
Yeah, I want nothing to do with this game, but I'll ask Apollo. We'll see how much of a real fan he is or how far it goes back. But what player used to hit a three and go like this every time he hit a three? Let me know if you know Apollo in the chat.
I know.
Corey Maggette.
Nope.
I want to know.
Dude, that's a throwback Clipper right there, though. Corey Maggette.
That is.
It is.
Name start with a D. Ski.
Nah. But he used to do it too sometimes. But it wasn't. That's not what I'm talking about.
Apollo is in the comments. We'll see what he says. 25 years
That's
of pain.
road,
he says 25. He said 25 years of pain. We'll see if he answers. Let's move on to the next one.
You should know then. You should know.
I was gonna guess Caron Butler. All right.
Are you guys down? Are you guys down to bet the Spurs here?
No.
Come on, dude. Phoenix as a road dog. I'm a road favorite against a team they're supposed to beat. This is when the Suns fumble, man. This is when we see all the tweets like the Suns are trash. It's this game.
So I'll say this.
I completely agree. Go ahead, Steve.
Go ahead.
No. You go ahead.
I'll say like this. The Spurs, I don't like that. They still got to figure out how to play with De'Aaron Fox, and obviously they don't have Wemby. I don't like those two things. But on the Phoenix side, like I don't think they've been playing good basketball. They just were trying to trade guys away from there. I'm not sure the chemistry and all that stuff is good. To lay with Phoenix right now just doesn't feel like a good bet. So in that regard, I can understand looking at San Antonio.
Dude, no one's going to like it with the Wemby news. Everyone's going to take the Suns as a road favorite, which we know is a suicide mission. I mean, we know the Suns can't make stops. Even without Wemby, I wouldn't be surprised if the Spurs still win the rebounding battle here. I don't like the Spurs. I'm just saying this is the game, based on what we've seen from this new look Suns team, right? This quote-unquote super team Suns. This is the game they fuck up. This is the game they lose right here. So I want to bet the Spurs. This isn't one of my bets. I told myself if you guys were down, I would bet it with you. But as of right now, it's Spurs or pass.
So I took it before the Wemby news. I took it after Wemby was diagnosed with a sickness yesterday and was downgraded to doubtful. I only played money line. So there's a way we can all still cash it, Cal. Because you're right. The Suns are not good. they're not good. But the Spurs are equally not as good. They're 3-7 straight up and against the spread in their last 10 games. They're actually pretty terrible too. First game since De'Aaron Fox has been traded, where they're going to be at home. And this how I kind of look at the Suns. One of you guys mentioned it. It might have been Ski. It might have been you, Kyle. These older teams are going to start winning some of these games. I think about the Warriors. I think about a team like the Suns that's actually pretty healthy. They got all the bodies in today. And I look at the Suns. You talk about the Suns not getting stops. I'm not sure if the Spurs going to be able to get stops, Kyle. Without Wemby, they're minus 8.8 in net rating so far this season. It should be a layup line at the basket. Nick Richards to dominate the boards. And I look at the Suns' schedule. Their strength of schedule for the rest of the season is actually the second hardest. Outside of the Lakers, they got the second hardest strength of schedule. They still got games against OKC, against Cleveland, 2 against Boston, the Knicks, the Grizzlies twice, and the Denver Nuggets. And they got 28 games left. And I think they still got it. They don't even have a winning record right now. But when you look at these teams like the Spurs now, who are also like I think 2 games behind them in the playoff race, the Bulls, the Raptors, the Pelicans, when your strength of schedule is 54%, your opponent got a 54% win percentage, you got to be able to win games like this. You absolutely have to. So I think they'll be able to do enough to get the win here. And that's why I took them. I just played money line minus 120 as soon as I saw the Wemby news yesterday.
Well, you got CLV, so I mean I can't say I hate it. I get why you would bet the Suns, and I'm just, and maybe what I'm saying isn't based on anything tangible. Maybe I'm just saying, guys, trust me, the Suns fucked this up. Like I don't really have any other reasoning other than that, so I won't bet it, but I kind of want to.
What's funny, Kyle, real quick before you move on, what's funny is you wanted to take the Suns like 2 times like 2 weeks ago when we were betting against Memphis and against the LT. Now I like the Suns. All of a sudden you don't want them no more.
I mean, I never wanted them. I'm in recovery. I'm 9 days clean off of Suns bet. Prop Beaver is on the screen.
Yeah, so I made the wrong graphic for this game, like a moron. I like the points too, so if you want to take the points, that's fine. I think the points of rebounds offer slightly more value. Also, I saw Shasta Bareface comment, has anybody used Prop Madness before? Do you like it? I use Prop Madness all the time. I love it, so would highly recommend. I don't have a promo code or any of that BS, but I know a lot of people do. I think Modai has one, so go to his channel if you need one to save a little bit of money. Okay, so getting into Fox here, I love the 30.5 points and rebounds here. This is a guy under his last 12 of 14 games, and he specifically with the Spurs 1-4. So why are we backing him to finally get things going? Well, Wemby's out here, and I'm expecting to see a little bit of an increase in usage at the very least. We've already seen him with 25% plus in 4 or 5 games as a Spur, and the Suns are a bottom 5 paint defense. That's Fox's bread and butter. If we look with a 25% usage rate against bottom 10 paint defenses, Fox 10-5 to the over this season. He's averaging 33 points of rebounds. Now, if Fox does take a sizable increase in usage, like I think he should here, I'm expecting at least a 3% increase in usage, 28% plus. He is 14-5 this season, averaging 35 points of rebounds. And this is a Suns defense that all season has been absolutely terrible at defending guards. They've allowed the last 10 of 15 they've faced over their line. You look at the last 30 days, 9th most points per game, 8th most rebounds per game allowed to the shooting guard position. Fox himself has cleared this line his last 5 of 7 matchups against the Phoenix Suns, and the reason why I added the rebounds here is because not only do the Suns allow a ton of rebounds to guards this season, but we have seen him go absolutely nuclear against his Suns team on the glass. He's hit 5+ against them their last 5 or 6 meetings. He's also had 9+ against them 2 of their last 4 meetings, so I like the points of rebounds here. I think Fox is really going to have to take a step up and be the leader of this team offensively with Wemby out, and I think that starts tonight. So Fox had a pretty disappointing first half of the season. It's time for him to get going in the second half.
And someone asked if the Suns are still a terrible rebounding team since adding Nick Richards. Yep. Last 10 games, 26 offensively, 26 defensively. So they have not gotten much better with the addition of Nick Richards. Next game. Lakers, Portland. I got a couple of Lakers fanboys on the channel.
Did you see the updated injury report, Kyle, before you start?
Let's go look.
Luka just got downgraded to out as soon as we started the show. Braun is questionable. Jared Vanderbilt is out, I think, as well.
What's the line?
And the line is moved all the way to Lakers being
About a pick.
It looked like it's still pretty much a pick. Some ones on both sides right now.
So let's see who the projected rotation is. I kind of think the Lakers still win, if I'm being honest.
I kind of think so too, but I don't know if I'm gonna get there.
Put it up. Put the poll up as a pick because it's pretty much a pick 'em now, Prop Beaver. So yeah, I think the Lakers win. I mean, I still think the Blazers are a little bit overvalued. People like really fell in love with betting them every single game there down the stretch. They dropped 3 in a row before the break, and let's not. The NBA season is long. It's a marathon. We're going to see even bad teams play well for a couple weeks. Let's not let that fool us into thinking bad teams are good basketball teams. The Blazers are trash. They played well for a couple weeks. Not trying to take away from them, and we bet them a few times in that stretch. So I'm not trying to hate on them, but this is still a bad basketball team, and if they're back to being one of the worst teams in the NBA, even with those pieces missing from the Lakers, should still be a good price. So maybe with the injury update, everyone floods over to the Portland side. I put the Lakers up for me, but I don't have a bet on it or anything. If this line keeps moving and I can get like a Lakers plus 2.5 before tip later, I could see myself throwing a bet down on the Lakers. As of right now, though, I lean towards Lakers. No, nothing down.
Yeah, I lean towards the Lakers too. I agree with what you said about the Blazers. Also, they're not going to have DeAndre Ayton. I think that's a big piece to be missing. Could also miss Robert Williams. So it'll just be Klingon. Maybe Klingon is a guy to look at, whether it's points and rebounds, something like that. But I think that the Lakers offense, if you don't have the best paint protection for both sides, Lakers still can score. Even without Luka, Reeves, he got ejected last game. He's going to be fresher. He's going to be pissed off. We've seen him win a game without LeBron before and put up 30-something points, I think it was. So I like the Lakers still right now. I think Reeves is the person you've been on for the Lakers. Klingon is the person you've been on for the Blazers.
Chris?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Ski said and a lot of what you said as well, Kyle. I'm interested to see if LeBron actually plays, though. Like, if LeBron plays, maybe I will take the Lakers. After losing the game that they had probably thought they had it wrapped up at halftime. They had such a big lead at halftime yesterday, and then they can't make a shot in the third quarter. They end up losing the third quarter, I think, by 16 points. Austin Reeves gets thrown out because, he felt like the ref missed the call. Luka looks terrible. I know it's his third game
Chris,
back.
Chris, let me stop you. So you mentioned the injury report when we first started here. LeBron was already listed as questionable, right?
No, he wasn't on there at all.
Yeah, he got downgraded.
Yeah, all of it came same time. So Kyle, you remember last week when we did a show, or week before, whenever we did the last show, I mentioned this kind of feels like to me. I mentioned I took Houston early, right? I took them like -1.5, and then they were playing against Golden State, and then Golden State had just came off the loss to Dallas. And then everybody got ruled in for Golden State, and the line went all the way back down to pretty much a pick. Like, it was like -1. And I was like, Kyle, I got a Houston -1.5. Don't like it as much. I feel like if Golden State laces it up, like if everybody plays for Golden State, they're probably gonna win. They're going out here not to lose this game. That's how I kind of feel about the Lakers. The Lakers have the strongest strength of schedule left, right? Even stronger than, like I just talked about with Phoenix. Ski mentioned the pieces that are out for Portland, but he didn't mention Jeremy Grant, potentially listed as questionable as well. I think that's a big question mark here. And we got to think about the Lakers' success that they had when they didn't have Luka. They looked better at times yesterday. He was like a +13 on the sheet, but when I was watching him, he did not look good at all. Like, he had 5 turnovers in the first quarter, couldn't make a shot to save his life. So it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while, I think. Like, I don't want to bash Luka too much, but on defense, he's absolute traffic cone. Like, LaMelo, whoop-de-dooped him right to the rim, right to get the layup to Mark Williams to end up being the game-winning shot, I think it was. And I kind of feel like the Lakers will find some success with Austin Reeves being back in the rotation today. So I'm starting to, the more I start to think about it, and I like that y'all agree with it, I do like the Lakers. And I don't bet Laker games too much. 12.5 was way too many points last night. But I think in a pick, and the last part I'll mention is the strength of schedule. I just talked about it. But if you look at the Lakers' next handful of games, they got tomorrow off, but they got the Nuggets coming up on ESPN, ABC game on Saturday. Then they play the Mavs, the return of Luka Doncic game. the Timberwolves, the Clippers, the Knicks, the Celtics. So it's a really strong strength of schedule coming up for the Lakers. Probably gonna lose some of those games, but tonight does kind of feel like a must-win after losing to Charlotte last night. So if Bron is in, I do like the Lakers.
I kind of like the Lakers either way. You bet the Lakers now at a pick. If Bron's in, we're good. And if you wait, LeBron's rolled out, maybe get the Lakers plus some points.
I don't really care if LeBron is in or out. Like
honestly, I kind of don't either. And with no Luka and LeBron, you might make the argument that the Lakers is going to have their best possible defensive rotation in play.
Yes.
All right, that's the end of the NBA games. Real quick, Ski, what was the answer to the Clippers question?
Quentin Richardson.
Q Rich.
Yeah. He used to be one of my players I used to really like. I used to go to Clippers games and watch him. Yeah, him and Darius Miles.
Former New York Knick.
I did too.
All right, clear the board so you can see these guys' names. Most of you probably already know where to find these guys' stuff, but in case you don't, just type in Ski Profit on YouTube. He does shows in the afternoon. He also does a late night show, late night, like 1 a.m. Eastern time late. Where him and UCapper go through the NBA slate the night before. And then you got Crispy Cap'n, who does a morning show, 7:30 a.m. Eastern time, I believe, every single morning. So make sure you go click the subscribe button for these guys. Show them some support. They'll both be back tomorrow. So see both of you guys tomorrow. Talk to you guys later.
Best of luck tonight, fellas.
Appreciate you having us.
Later.
Let's
get Toast on the screen. Go through a few college basketball games. Narrowed it down to a few that we have bets on. We're not going to go through all. We went through 9 last night. I narrowed it down to 6. So we're not going to go through all of them. And this first one is not. You should have taken Northwestern plus 10.5. You'd be holding a point of value here if you did.
I know. I feel the same way as I do last night. I'll wait till I get on the screen.
I think you are on the screen. You just can't see it.
Yep, you're on the screen. Sorry, bud.
Yeah, I still feel the same way as last night. I just don't feel comfortable with Ohio State laying this big of a number, and this Northwestern team continues to be feisty. So, I know that that's a word to kind of describe bad teams, but again, their last few games have their last 8 games have all been close. I mean, they won that game against Indiana at home by 9, and then they go on the road and to Illinois and lose that game by 9, but then a 7-point loss to Rutgers, a 6-point loss to Northwestern, a 2-point win to USC, 5 points lost to Washington, 6 points to Oregon, 4 points to Nebraska. Again, they just find ways to stay in games. So, and this Ohio State team's kind of like hit or miss. So, there's just no way in hell I can get to Ohio State here. So if Ohio State's hotter than hell and they cover this number, so be it, because Northwestern doesn't really defend the 3 that well, but at the same time, they really haven't shown that for me. Not to mention the fact that Northwestern is so much bigger. Even with those guys out, they're a very, very big basketball team. They still have other guys that are 6'6", 7 feet. That, again, they're not nearly as good as Barnharzer and guys like Leach, but they are big, and they could make life difficult for these Ohio State shooters. So it would only be Northwestern for me.
I disagree with what Trevor's saying in the comments right now. He's saying this line feels like the North Carolina-NC State line. No, because the North Carolina-NC State line was like blatantly too high because North Carolina's been shit. That's not the case here. Ohio State's a significantly better team, so I don't think that the line. I kind of like Northwestern too now because that comment from Trevor pissed me off. Let's move on to the next one. I'm not betting this.
Only because we've seen Ohio State have the ability to cover those numbers. It's a matter of question is if you're comfortable doing it. North Carolina hasn't shown the ability to beat anybody, let alone cover multiple possessions.
Exactly. Trevor just yap it in the comments.
Not working.
CLV. Let's talk. What are they? The Mounts? What are they here?
What even is this first? Bryant?
Okay.
Bryant versus Vermont.
The Bryant Bulldogs versus the Vermont Catamounts.
Seek fucking
Catamounts.
Don't forget it again, okay?
The Catamounts.
Show some respect for the American East Monmouth that we call Vermont, okay? This team just takes over. Go ahead.
So we got Bryant at Vermont, and for those of you that don't follow America East ball, I'm a pretty avid American East guy. One of the best conferences to follow. And one thing's abundantly clear: Vermont owns this conference, and people like Trevor and have got it twisted to think that like this conference is now up for grabs. To put it into NFL terms, and this is a comparison I used last night, that would Bryant laying 1.5 on the road at Vermont. That's equivalent to laying points with the Broncos to the Chiefs in Kansas City because the Chiefs started the season off 5-5. Like, no, this conference still belongs to Vermont. Yes, they've had a bit of a down year, but until someone else takes the American East crown from Vermont, this is their conference. So Vermont is the play here. I bet this at plus 2.5.
Yeah, I really can't add much to that. I did play Vermont as well. Like Kyle said, they started off conference play kind of slow. By kind of slow, I mean they've lost 3 games. So it's not like they've been like super terrible or anything like that. And the fact that, yes, Bryant has been very good. There's no question about that. They're the top team in this league. They're 11-1 though. But if Bryant were to lose this game, that would give them 2 losses. They still have to play Maine later on this year. There's an avenue where Vermont can overtake at least Maine and possibly Bryant, depending on how they play if they don't trip up again. So I just think this is a really good spot for a Vermont team at home catching points that's been playing really well their last 5 games at home and on the road. Is Bryant a step up in competition? Absolutely. But they also played Maine that I think is kind of comparable to Bryant, and they beat them by 6 at home here like 2 weeks ago. So I'm more than happy to take my 2.5 points with Vermont.
It's funny. I just talked that shit, like said that whole thing about Trevor, completely forgot that he was on Vermont with us last night. He said in the comments, like, dude, I'm on Vermont. He didn't even take Bryant. Let's go on.
It was because you guys were tripping the last game.
Yeah, because we went head to head. I forget what team they even played, but I hit Vermont at plus money. USC, Maryland. Yeah, the line moved against us here, man.
Yeah, no, I still bet it again.
You bet it again?
Yeah, another half a unit, another 1.5, 2 points and a half.
Yeah, I'm on USC plus the points.
I think I got them at 12.5 too.
It's the perfect sell high spot on the Terps. They had that huge win over Nebraska. They've won 3 games in a row. Everyone is holding on to their Maryland stock. Everyone's buying. We're now talking about laying double digits here. USC coming off a game. I mean, they just lost an ugly one where they were laying points. Who did they lose to outright? Minnesota, was it? It was Minnesota. So no one wants to bet USC right now. Everyone wants to bet Maryland right now. It's just your classic sell high, buy low spot. Trojans may be live.
I don't want to go as far as say I don't think they can win this game. They might be live. I don't know, but I do feel like the USC is a side here. They also really haven't played that bad on the road so far. I mean, they do have road wins on the road at Illinois. They've on the road at Nebraska. I mean, they got absolutely smoked by Purdue, but at the same time, that's a really hard place to play. That it was just kind of like an avalanche. They lost by 2 points to Northwestern, but that Northwestern had all their guys in that game. So again, I don't really think that they've been really playing that bad. And they caught a Minnesota team that's, I mean, let's not pretend like they've been playing really good. I mean, that Minnesota team has 3 losses since the middle of January. One of them Michigan State, one of them Illinois, and the other one Washington. So, I mean, yes, is the Washington loss bad? But again, I mean, Minnesota's been playing pretty decent basketball. So should USC lose to them at home? Probably not. But again, we get Maryland and, like Kyle said, a sell high spot where this just continues to win. They just absolutely slaughtered Iowa. But again, that Iowa game, like I said last night, that Iowa game was really close in the first half, and then Iowa just couldn't do absolutely dick in the second half. I think they scored like 15 points. I'm dead serious when I say that, because we all had their team total over 76.5 or something like that, and they had like 54 in the first half. But regardless, you keep going back. The Nebraska game, talking about Maryland, Nebraska game, they only won that game by 8. They only beat Rutgers by 8 as well. They lost to Ohio State, a 10-point game to Wisconsin, a 5-point game to Indiana, a 1-point game to Indiana. So it's not like they've been playing these blowout games besides that one game against Iowa. So I think that USC is significantly better than Iowa, and they actually play defense at a pretty decent level. So again, I'll take my chances with a team in USC that I think matches up really well with Maryland. Because why? Maryland has a whole bunch of size. USC is very, very big as well. That's one of the advantages that USC will have. So unless Maryland's super hot from deep, I think that USC is going to really have a chance to slow this team down tonight.
Next, I'm taking the, what is this team? The
Waves.
The Waves. I don't know. I'm taking Pepperdine. Oregon State. You take Oregon State out of Corvallis, it's like taking the Bat Cave away from Bruce Wayne. Like, that's what they need. They need to be at home in Corvallis. That's their secret weapon. Take them out of there, they're not a good team. Pepperdine is also not a good team, but plus 7.5. I really don't know much about Pepperdine, if I'm being honest. I'm fading Oregon State away from Corvallis. It's about as simple as that.
Honestly, for me, it's these offenses are not completely different. Obviously, the Oregon State offense is really good. The Pepperdine offense is really bad. But as far as defensively, I would say they're pretty much even. I mean, each team is a little bit better at certain things and whatnot, but they're pretty much middle of the pack in the WCC as far as defense is concerned. And it's just as a matter of if you think that Oregon State can show up on the road, and they've shown us that they can't. I mean, they just lost to a Portland team that's much worse than Pepperdine, and they lost that game by 8. You go back another one, they lost the Gonzaga game. Obviously, they're not going to look good at that. But again, you go through their schedule, they just haven't showed anything besides the one game at Pacific where they absolutely blown them out by 40. And again, that was the last team that they just played as well, and they only won that game by 6. It's just Oregon State hasn't shown me anything on the road that they can win by number. So again, I think that these teams are very, very even. I think Pepperdine's a much bigger team, so I think they're going to have a rebounding advantage as well. And if Oregon State's not completely engaged, they're going to be at a chance. I think they could possibly lose this game. Again, Pepperdine hasn't been playing that bad. They had one bad game against Portland, but every other game that they played, they only lost by 1 to Washington State. They only lost by 9 to Loyola Marymount. Obviously, Gonzaga blew them out, but again, that's kind of happens at sometimes. But again, I just don't think that Pepperdine's playing back that well, and this is like their biggest home game of the year. They have 2 home games left, but this is by far their biggest one of the year because the last one's Washington State, and nobody wants to see Washington State play. So Oregon State still has a little cachet because they've played somewhat decent. So I think it's going to be a pretty decent crowd here tonight, and I think that Pepperdine actually can win this game.
Trevor says weird shit happens at night in the WCC.
Oh, yeah.
Like he's telling a children's Halloween story. Strange things happen at night in the WCC. Next game.
Just saying, you got these kids out here in Malibu hanging around, probably never seen girls like that in their life. You never know what's going to happen.
What?
Okay.
The girls are hanging out at Pepperdine?
Yeah, those
Dude, are
Pepperdine
you
girls.
kidding?
Woo!
Yeah, they are hanging out at Pepperdine. It's in freaking Malibu, California.
I didn't even know it was in. I didn't know. And Pepperdine, who the hell knows where that is?
Pepper this, pepper that. Shut the fuck up.
Don's by 30. Don's in blowout fashion. This Pacific team is trash. Bottom feeders of the WCC. The Dons are right up there with St. Mary's, right up there with Gonzaga. This is a good Western WCC team here, right? Don's by 20 plus. There's no reason to take Pacific here. Tosa's going to try to give you one. There's no reason.
I just want to see what the line is.
It's Pacific.
Oh, Pacific?
UOP is Pacific.
The crowd will understand the poll more if it says Pacific.
15.5 still. No budging here, huh?
It's 15.5. How high you want it to get? 30?
You can put the Pacific Tigers up for me.
Don't bet this. Baby. This team sucks, dude. Pacific is bad.
They do suck, but you know what? They've actually been kind of playing somewhat decent over the last couple weeks. Wins against Washington State, wins against San Diego, wins against Loyola Marymount. They haven't really looked good on the road, but at home they've been all right at times. And again, this San Francisco team, it's a freaking, you know what? I actually like the first half better because I can't remember who it is, but they're doing some type of bullshit celebration in the Chase Center tonight with San Francisco. Everything's going to be happening. You can catch like 9 or 9.5 points with Pacific in the first half. I can't remember what that freaking thing is in San Francisco tonight, but they're doing something. This game's not at War Memorial. This game's at the Chase Center. I think that Pacific can cover this game.
Pacific's a bad team. This Pacific team got beat by double digits.
Maybe it's the opposite way around. Maybe it's in War tonight. Regardless, I don't really care. There's some bullshit celebration. It doesn't matter where it's at.
This Pacific team lost by 16 and 17 points to Pepperdine twice. Saw Pepperdine twice. They lost by 16 and 17 to Pepperdine.
They got their number.
San Francisco's actually a good team. Give me the Dons. Dons minus 15.5. Good team, cool name.
No, I'm not seeing it.
You're betting on one of the worst teams in the country purposely.
I'm not purposely doing. I haven't bet anything. I'm just saying that's the side I would be on. And you know what? Now, out of spite, I might bet that first half.
Someone says it's Nancy Pelosi night in San Francisco.
Just hard to fade a team.
How do you fade San Francisco on Nancy Pelosi night, guys?
Come on.
Oh, Can't wait for bobblehead nights.
So yeah, I just emailed you the standings for the league. We also got to do the underdog pick'em prop, Beaver.
Yep.
So
Oh, well.
which would you like to do first?
1 second. My
Why don't we do the underdog first?
Well, are you going to talk about the LMU game or no?
Oh yeah, Toast, talk about it. I'm gonna take a piss. Fuck this game.
Yeah, so I'm on Loyola here tonight, plus the points. I just think this is. First of all, I just think that they kind of match up well with Santa Clara. Not to mention the fact that, I know that Loyola's offense looks really bad, but at the same time, they've also played some pretty decent teams that make their numbers look bad. I just feel like this team matches up a lot better with Santa Clara than people are giving them credit for. And I don't like the fact that Santa Clara is laying all these points. I know that they have looked good in times with 47 points against Portland, 23 points against San Diego, another 40 points against Pacific, but they're coming off a St. Mary's game. I know that I'm not trying to say that they're looking on to Washington State, but at the same time, they got Washington State in 2 days. They got Gonzaga in 3 days after that, or something like that. I'm sorry, not 3 days, 5 days after that. So again, I just feel like this is kind of like a sleepy spot for them in a Loyola team that has been actually playing somewhat decent. They just took a couple really bad losses, but I think they get up here because it's this game and the St. Mary's game, their last game at in the conference play. They don't have a chance to win this game, so this is their last road game of the year. I would assume that they play well. I'm not in love with this, but at the same time, I don't love Santa Clara like that. Every time that I trust this team to win by margin, they just really don't do it. And it doesn't matter if it's at home or on the road. They've played well at home. They've played well on the road. They've also had some bad losses in both of them. So, I lean Loyola with the points, but again, I'm not really in love with it. It's just one of those situations where I just don't trust this Santa Clara team deep into the season. I think it could be a kind of a little bit of a sleepy spot for them.
Cool. I bet you that was sweet analysis. Should we do the underdog pick'em first or the league standings?
We'll do let's do the league standings first.
All right. Unfortunately, I got off to a rough start this week, so I'm trying to claw my way back into it. We got someone's all the way up there. 1 second. So we got Coach Sam at plus 5.46 units, leading the International Grass Division. McCollins up front in South Lemon. Cheeks and Bake up front in the Underground. French Pork has Helms in first place. Wags is also right there. Wellesley's winning the Bulge. Grebs is right there too. And Believeland, what a shitty division Believeland is. Renz, 0.81 is the only person in green for Believeland. All right, let's do an underdog pick'em.
All righty. So our underdog pick'em today, we got 3 plays. We got De'Aaron Fox higher than 30.5 points plus rebounds. Zaire Williams lower than 9.5 points. And the big sneeze himself, higher than 22.5 points, rebounds, and assist, Mr. Precious Achua. The underdog promo of the day was Wemby, higher than a half total point. He's not playing today, folks. So no free promo, unfortunately, today. However,
I'm sure they'll give you one on there.
They didn't have.
We don't have a graphic for it, but I'm sure there's one.
I get what you're saying. Yes, if you are a new customer, if you sign up, I'm sure they'll give you a free one. If you want to become one of those new customers that gets a free leg, you can sign up in one of these lovely yellow states. You can use the promo code BET, B-E-T, and get a deposit match up to 1,000 letters. Confused on the spelling of that? It's 3 letters.
B-E-T. Promo
B-E-T.
code BET to get your up to $1,000 deposit bonus match with Underdog Fantasy. Someone said you could say the same thing about Creighton, and I was like, what is he talking? And then I realized he's quoting the intro. Totally. You could say the same thing about Creighton. Oh shit! Is that it? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Wellesley, what's up, man? My nickname mentioned on YouTube. I'm a star, Mom. Yeah, Wellesley, I believe you were the first ever league champion last year in the MLB. I believe you won the first one ever. So, legend.
Oh, he's already got a trophy?
I think he got the first
ever. You're famous, dude. Hell yeah. You're in.
Oh, he got a baseball one, though. Not one of these.
That's okay. That's better anyway.
Well, actually, the new ones are basketball, so they're not this. But anyway, everyone, thanks for watching. We'll be back at midnight. Real quick, let me look at the slate for tomorrow.
I was going to say, I have Wyatt's birthday dinner, so can we do it like a half hour later? I know you like sticking to that same time, but I have Benihana's tonight. I'm sorry. And there's only
I'll
like
let you
two-
know. I mean, there's only like a couple games.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's really 2 solid games if you even want to call it that.
I
And then
mean,
a
we
lot
could
of-
like I could always just me and Trev could go through like a couple games or something, like a
Yeah.
quick one. All right, I'll let you know.
Okay.
See you guys later.
Later, boys.